Hey everyone, and welcome back to AfterTaste. We're we're recording. I don't have any cameras. Follow us on Patreon if you want us to do cameras. But from here on out, we're going to do just our voices. We're going to talk about the film Sinister, which is, I believe, a 2012 release from Scott Derrickson. He's the Doctor Strange guy for those people that don't know Scott Derrickson. But I'm joined today by Chelsea Rodriguez. How are you doing? This is one of your favorite films, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And I'm also here with Emma. How are you doing, Emma, for the third time in the last 20 minutes?
I've only seen this movie once, so this is going to be really, really insightful.
It's fine. But we're glad to have you here nonetheless.
Thanks, dude.
So, I have all my notes here on my phone because I watched it without my laptop. So this movie was basically the story of a true crime author who had a big book about, I believe, 10 years before the film was current time and place, called Kentucky Blood, where he's basically like a private investigator guy who's trying to figure out what happened. And it ruffles a lot of feathers. So the movie begins basically with him showing up into a new town to investigate these murders, basically, which are really strange. And he just moves into the house of the murders and starts writing from there. So the main character is played by Ethan Hawke. I don't know the female actress who plays his wife.
I'm not I don't have her name, unfortunately.
And then we have the Deputy Dewey type of character played by
James Ransone.
James Ransone, Eddie from It Chapter 2. So basically the film, he has a whole bunch of tapes in his attic, which are just creepy as hell. He goes up to his attic to write, and it's dark and creepy, and he has an old 8mm projector. And from the start of the movie, you realize this is really, you can't tell if it's going to be a serial killer type of horror film or if it's going to be paranormal by default. And I think that's pretty cool because I didn't know anything about Sinister going into it. That being said, it turns paranormal pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
He starts to see that all these films are somewhat correlated. He sees a face. Mr. Boogie, I believe he's called. Bagul.
Yeah, that's his other name.
Mr. Bagul. That's pretty close to Mr. Boogie. I mean, if you are a child, which apparently he's a child eater and seducer of making them do bad things.
Yes.
Bagul is like the boogeyman, but
yeah, that's literally what his name translates to. It's like the boogeyman.
The boogeyman. That is true. So the things about this movie that I like are that, unlike a lot of the 80s films and the 90s horror films, a lot of the scares aren't necessarily created by happenstance. They're created by lighting and sound editing, which is, I think, one of the coolest parts of the movie.
Yes.
This entire movie seems like it was shot under inverted light or camera. It's hard to explain, but most of the movie, Ethan Hawke's face was illuminated by a small light or a cell phone.
Yes.
And most of the mood lighting in the background was created by smoke and mirrors. So that being said, this movie does more of that than most any other film I've seen out there. What about this film is most exciting to you, Chelsea?
Well, one of the things I really love about it, like you said, a big thing for me is so much of the technical aspect that went into this movie, from the sound editing to the design to the whether it was natural lighting or fabricated lighting. I absolutely love the cinematography of this movie.
Yes, for sure.
There's just something about it when I had watched it and then watching it recently that honestly it just makes me think it's been a really long time where I was actually scared by a horror movie. And I mean, granted, if there's a jump scare on a current one, yeah, it's gonna get me, it's gonna ruffle my feathers for a second,
And then you're going to be mad that it worked.
yeah, I'm darn it happened again.
You feel like you're supporting those filmmakers by jumping at their
I
cheap
know, it's
scares,
I
which is
I
unfair.
promise I won't. Oh, it
I'm
got
not
me
gonna
again.
support you. Oh,
It's God,
damn
why?
it.
Yeah.
All right.
But no, there's just something about it that I find, because Scott Derrickson and his screenwriter C. Robert Cargill put a lot of emphasis into it, and there's actual interviews where Cargill had said he found the inspiration for this movie after he had a nightmare after watching The Ring.
Okay.
And
I can see that.
yeah. And
Yeah, I was cheating, and I just found that on Wikipedia.
Oh, you did?
So now I feel like I'm up to date.
There you go.
Just look up a few facts and throw them out there every once in a
Well,
while.
that was actually something that I do remember, like with the cinematography. When I remember when I first saw it when it was out in theaters, and that was the only time I've seen it, and I'm so sorry.
No, it's
was
fine.
That's cool.
a lot of the principal photography and stuff on it. It looked a lot like The Ring. I honestly I didn't really draw that comparison where it's like, no, I saw The Ring and I was scared, so now I'm gonna make this movie about this nightmare. But I always just like kind of had that feeling with like how it was shot, and especially with in certain scenes, like just certain colors, lots of like grays and blues and like going into black and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of cool though.
Yeah, and a lot like The Ring also. A lot of even when it was daytime outside, it almost looked like an inverted palette where it seemed like it was dark outside, but it was light outside.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And I have a couple of notes here about like different lighting. At certain points, Ethan Hawke looked like a young Gary Oldman. And at some points, he looked like a young Benedict Cumberbatch from Doctor Strange, which is the next film that Scott Derrickson is actually doing, the Doctor Strange and the Something of Madness. I forget what it's called.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yes.
Also, fun fact: the family that got burned alive was the Martinez family, which hits real home to me. I used to live in Sacramento also. I turned to my wife and I was like, "Shit!"
You're like,
man.
no.
We gotta stop. Oh, we gotta stop. But also, a lot of the editing cut points of this film they weren't cheap jump scares, but the scares created by the edits were scary.
Yeah.
Inherently, by the fact that all the kids were being introduced one by one by one by one, you would just see like Ethan Hawke's head, and then a cut edit to something being right in front of him.
Yeah, but he can't see it.
But he can't see it. That's the scary part of it. So they used some of the tropes that could be seen as a little bit tropey, but they edited better than that.
But there's a little twist on it because, yeah, like you said, the editing really makes all the difference on that one.
Yeah, Scott Derrickson had said in interviews, one of the things if he could change when like going back and looking at his film was apparently it was the studio's word saying they really wanted that jump scare at the very, very end when you see Bagul for the last time. Because he initially just wanted it to end on like that slow like pulling out of like the reels in the attic. And he's like, let's end it there, cut it. But they're like, no, we want another jump scare.
We need
No,
another.
come
And
on.
he's like, we need another
Fine.
studio ending.
So he
basically.
unfortunately he had to tack that on, and that's one thing he said even recently, even though like
No
now,
good Hitchcock or Price ending
Yeah,
for
he
Derrickson.
really like fought hard for it, but you know he could only do so much with what had
Even though
happened.
that ending did kind of put a little bit of a studio fingerprint on it, I still enjoyed the ending. It
very
wasn't your happy-go-lucky.
No.
Whoa.
Here it's like, no, nobody's fine and nobody made it out
It's not your
right.
horror
Yeah.
film like The Conjuring, where it's like, oh, we survived this time.
like, we
Let me just put this
prevailed.
doll into our attic.
Yeah, no.
And let our kids let the doll out one day. But
For fun.
yeah, it doesn't have that happy-go-lucky feeling ending.
No.
But it has a very, very earned ending, I think. I think that you kind of think that they can't do it, and then they do it, right?
But that's good because that actually raises the stakes and you actually care. Whereas with, like pretty much all of the movies in the Conjuring franchise, and especially now that it is a big franchise, whenever they go back in the story, then you already know what's going to be happening later.
Yeah.
So you can already tell it's like, well, none of these people show up in any of this. So, yeah, I guess they're dead. And then it's like, oh, look, they died.
Yeah.
Chuck.
Yeah.
Aw.
That's why I think like it did kind of get crazy with like how much they like build off like that universe. It's like, okay, so it's like even though like these are like different characters, scenarios, and timelines, it's like we know like that doll in particular is going to get to this point B at some point. So it's like some of like
Where Sinister, on the other hand, because it didn't have that sort of like, yeah, they're going to make it because we know they're going to make it. They're going to wring all the money they can out of this. And with Sinister, with it having that morose of an ending, I was surprised when I was looking for it on Netflix and I found Sinister 2.
yes.
And I'm like, I was disappointed in that.
Yeah.
Like, just no,
I literally
this?
only watched it because I wanted to see James Ranson as the deputy again. That was like
Yeah.
my only thing.
Otherwise, I sat through it and it was like, yeah, it's a movie.
Yeah.
Sinister.
James Branson
one,
has
though.
that character type down, like, perfectly.
That A type.
That perfect type of character.
It's so funny because it's like that's like not how he is in real life, but he's so good at playing like those straight laced characters. That's why like when I was like watching like It Chapter 2 and him is like Eddie Kasprak and he's like all neurotic and everything, I was like, this is not the person you are. Like he's like covered in like tattoos.
But he freaking had it.
Oh yeah, no, he did. That's just one of the things I love.
Yeah, so I think Sinister, while it's not a film known to the mainstream as like a classic in any way, a lot of people who do enjoy film in general enjoy the fact that it was so well made. You could tell the details, even in just, you could see Ethan Hawke like scene to scene starting to like deteriorate like in his spirit. You can see him start to get darker in his eyes, basically, by their decisions to put either makeup on him or make him seem more of a drunk, which was a running thing.
Yeah.
So either he's falling into madness or he's like, kind of like, you know, Jack Nicholson and like The Shining.
Yeah, or it's like, is it alcoholism or ghosts?
It's
Who
because
knows?
we don't know, but
Yeah.
they pushed it and they earned it throughout the film.
Did you know that all of those reactions out of him were 100% genuine?
What? do you
What?
mean? What do you mean?
So pretty much is like even though like when they were like rehearsing the scenes and like they were like prepping to like film like oh like this is the part where your character's gonna watch the Super 8 films, for some reason there was like a disconnect where he didn't watch them pre-hand, so all of the reactions were 100%. I think like my
Oh, but that's smart though.
that's why it worked, because one of my favorites out of like all of I think the one that gets me the most out of all of them is the lawnmower.
Oh, it's the lawnmower.
Is the lawnmower, and then when he like jumps out of the chair,
right when
like,
I think I don't remember jack shit about this movie.
The
you bring up the lawnmower.
sticks with me.
The lawnmower got me for sure. Everything else disturbed me and was haunting for sure.
Yeah, but the lawnmower.
But the lawnmower was a jump scare in itself, which is terrifying.
That really got me when I first saw it in the theater.
There's something about like when you first see the lawnmower in like the view of the video that was made, you're like, oh, this is gonna be bad. Oh my god!
There's just like, especially for me as a person who's like anything even remotely like thresher or wood chipper-esque, anything with spinning blades, I just nope out of there. My brain just like shuts off for a second, but my eyes are still absorbing all of it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he said that was the one that got him the most too. It clearly it shows because he jumped out of the chair.
well, good. He's a human being.
Was he really drinking? Because I feel like he might have been really drinking at
That could have
Get drunk, watch Super 8 movies.
You watch that Super 8 film directed by Steven Spielberg a couple years ago?
No, not that.
Not as good as these Super 8.
I've only seen it once, and that was it.
I remember at one point saying, this film
was
was really
fun.
good, and then I just watched it again. I was like, wow, it wasn't good.
Not a good idea.
That's fine.
But at least this movie delivered fully.
It delivered. And as a movie fan, I enjoy films like this a lot. As we talked about so far, we talked about The Evil Dead 2 and some of these older horror films. We're going to talk about Killer Clowns from Outer Space. When I watch those films, I don't get scared. And Evil Dead 2 is a very scary type of premise and things. But for some reason, the aspects when it comes to like lighting and really well done scores and direction, that's what normally gets me. So this movie was scarier to me than Evil Dead.
Exactly.
Was like that.
Yeah.
So I think this one is worth watching. We're going to cut this off for today, and we'll see you again tomorrow. And thank you, Emma. Thank you, Chelsea. I'll probably thank you again in a few seconds. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.